Hey there. Today, talking about Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. I came in expecting a horror novel, and I didn't find it scary, but the mood was odd, unnerving. The mood of this book I would describe as unnerving. There's no jump scares. You're probably not, unless you're a child. Like if I was a kid, this would have scared me crazy. I wouldn't have slept. But as an adult, or maybe an older child, a more mature child, you're not going to be terrified, but the mood is unnerving. This book is all about tone, mood. Something weird is happening, something wicked is coming. This book will get you going. It's a good book. The I would say the plot isn't amazing, the characters aren't amazing. They're good. But the strongest part of this book is the tone, is the mood. It draws you in. You're like, what's happening? This is weird. The characters are so melancholy, so introspective. It's a little unnatural, but it's good at the same time. The There's two main boys. The story follows two boys who come across this carnival of wickedness. We'll say strange things happen. People disappear. You feel weird being around this carnival. The two boys, Will Holloway, Willie, and Jim Nightshade, which is a good horror book name. Um, they kind of can't help themselves. They're two. This book connects in ways to his later book, The Halloween Tree. There's even a little tidbit of this book that was taken, and I believe might have been the inspiration for Malmshroud for his kite in the Halloween Tree. I like seeing how Bradbury took one idea from here and transformed it into something different over there. I can tell that he's really into these themes of death and macabre and things like that. Now I want to go back and read Fahrenheit 451 to see how his tone compares in that, because I haven't read that in years. Anyway, back to this book. The two boys run into this weird carnival. The main leader of the carnival is named Dark. It's Cougar and Dark's carnival. And eventually he wants to make it Cougar and Nightshade's carnival. And it's good. I'll do a little spoilers. Not too bad, but a little bit. Yeah, throughout the book, they're just trying to figure out what's going on with the carnival. Weird things keep happening to people. Will Holloway's dad, Charles Holloway, gets involved. He's a good character. He's an old for a dad. These kids are 13, I think, or 12. 12 or 13. And the dad's like mid 50s. Like he had Will when he was like 39 or 40. So it's funny because like these boys are so youthful and energetic, and he's kind of old and sad. And that works well together. You wouldn't think it would in a horror movie, a horror story of a carnival, of an illustrated man, of a blind witch who can make hearts stop, to have this sad middle-aged man in the middle of it. But the way he's introspective, the way he interacts with the story, really kind of ties it all together. If it had just been the two boys, I don't think the story would have been nearly as good. And the way Charles Holloway, the dad, is actually the one that figures out how to beat the carnival. And it reminded me of Harry Potter a little bit, because part of the way you beat darkness is with light, with love, with joy. And it's not cheesy. Harry Potter, the original, I thought was a little bit cheesy, but here it's not as cheesy. A tiny bit of cheese, but no. And one of the most powerful things I thought about this book, in the end, the main guy, Dark, he's this big, strong, tattooed man. He even seems to have a little bit of voodoo powers. With if he makes a tattoo of you, it seems to he can influence you in certain ways. Like he has some supernatural forces. And him and Charles Holloway have a fight, maybe halfway point, 2/3 through the book. And I hesitate to call it a fight because Dark just destroys him. He crushes the bones in his hand. But then, instead of just beating him with his hands, he tries to have the witch do something to Charles. Later, at the penultimate fight, instead of just facing him head on, he tries to do a trick on him, and that ends up being his downfall. It's really kind of shows the theme. It was powerful to me because there's a strong, powerful man, but he spent a lifetime tricking people, so it's what he falls back on. Oh, sorry. As noticed, the book is. Um, it reminded me. This is gonna sound weird. Of this show called Wacky Races. It was a Hanna Barbera cartoon in the '70s. The villain of the show, Dick Dastardly, would always the race would start. He would race out, zoom past everyone else, and then go and set up traps and tricks. The racer would be faster than everyone and then stop racing to try to trick the rest of them. If he had just raced, he would have won every time. Same thing with Dark. Charles figures him out. Instead of just beating him and moving on with the carnival, he tries to trick him. He tries to do deception. He tries to do voodoo magic on him when he easily could have just beat him with his bare hands. But because his whole modus operandus was, I'm going to trick people, I'm going to make them undo themselves, he kept falling back on that when he could have easily just beaten him straight up and moved on and kept his carnival going forever. But he ends up losing because he falls back on his tricks. It goes into the themes of this book of good and darkness. Good will beat the darkness if the darkness, pretty much darkness beats itself because it can't stand up to good. Like the cheesy part was that basically the villain gets hugged to death. Basically. There's a little more to it than that, but he's so dark and twisted, he can't handle joy and love in a warm embrace. It's slightly cheesy, but it works. And the ending of the book, the old man running with the two boys, is pretty good. Um, Overall, again, read the first chapter, maybe 2 chapters. If you like the tone, the mood, you're going to love the book. The plot, not amazing. Characters, good, not amazing. But the mood, the tone is what drives the story. It is the story. Definitely a good book for Halloween. I would say a good book for the fall. Because the fall, winter, the darkness, it kind of puts you in that somber mood. The kind of mood that the characters in this book might take advantage of. Cougar and Dark. Definitely, overall, to wrap it up, definitely worth a read if you haven't read it before, if you like Bradbury, if you haven't read it in a while. I had never read it, and then I knew I liked the Halloween tree, and I figured, you know what, why not pick this one up too? Definitely worth it. The one question I would have for people in the book, there's a carousel. You can ride it backwards or forwards and get younger or older. Basically, not time travel. You stay in the same time that you're in, but your body becomes younger or older, but your mind stays the same. And if my question I've been thinking about, let's say gun to my head, I have to get in the carousel. Would I want to go backwards and get younger, or would I want to go forwards and get older? I'm not sure. I think I would go backwards. I think because you see in the book that if you go too far forwards, you can just become a corpse basically. But then if you go too far the other way, you become a baby. So, but your mind is still an adult. So I don't know which would be worse. I don't know. That's my question for the people if they have a thought on that. All right, that's Something Wicked This Way Comes. Check it out. And until next time, may you live forever or die in the attempt.